Hey folks, I think we're live and I'm here to review the OnePlus 3 today. This is Tanko, you're on Tanko Mobile Live. This is my first time trying to do a live video directly to YouTube in 1080p. Yes, I much prefer doing live videos than having to edit them after the fact, so you'll get to enjoy all my mistakes. And yes, in case you do see it in the reflection, I'm using an iPhone. I know that's because the only software I could find was for iOS to do this. So, OnePlus 3, a lot of ink has been shed on the OnePlus 3 and I've been using it for almost a month, and I am telling you right now, this is absolutely delightful of a phone. I am smitten with this device. For the price, you can't go wrong. Now, I don't know the pricing exactly. It's in the $400 range. You can't go wrong at that price because for that, you're getting 99% of the Galaxy S7 or any other flagship experience, really. So let's talk about this phone. Here it is. And as you can see, it's got a really beautiful display. It's a 5.5 inch, but it's only 1080p display, in line with keeping the cost down. So it's an AMOLED display, and there's been a lot of brouhaha because it's a pen tile display, and it's not tuned using sRGB, which I actually think is a good thing because sRGB is not really that cool. And more importantly, it has its own tuning. They call it optical AMOLED. And look, I'm going to bring it up a little closer so you can see how gorgeous this display is. This is a really nice screen, okay? So don't let what you're reading bug you about it. Now, if you're planning to do VR, there is a VR headset that OnePlus made available for this phone. That's one of the areas where it kind of starts falling apart because you really do need that Quad HD to do VR. Let me show you what it looks like in terms of colors. It's really vibrant. It could be a little bit higher contrast in some places. Like you can see it a little bit here on the Google Plus. And the biggest issue right now is brightness. This is at half brightness in indoors, so we're okay. But it doesn't get nearly as bright as some of the competing displays. So we've talked about the display. Let's talk about this phone in greater detail. There's a fingerprint reader down here, like last year on the OnePlus 2. It's super fast. Let me show you. Super fast and super reliable. Done. See? No drama. Put my finger down. Done. Okay. At the top here, we have an 8 megapixel autofocus camera with f/2.0 actually, and it's not autofocus. I'm sorry. I keep saying autofocus kind of by default, but this is not an autofocus front facer. There's an earpiece right here and some sensors obviously that you can't really see. But look at the quality of this build. Look at the level of detail afforded by this phone. For a $400 flagship, 2.5D screen here. And then let's flip it over because really the back is just as gorgeous. It has kind of like a halfway mixture between Huawei, like the Mate 8, and HTC in terms of look and feel. Of course, full unibody metal this year. It has a beautiful band for the antenna that you cannot feel, very much like HTC. The fit and finish on this is remarkable. Absolutely stunning phone, okay? So let's talk about all the little bits and pieces all the way around here. The camera in the back, okay, it's a 16 megapixel autofocus this time for reals, and it's OIS, of course, and it has phase detect autofocus. No more laser autofocus and a single LED flash here. I'm not sure if it's two-tone. Let's see how close we can get. I don't think so, but you know what? This camera is really quite good. It's not Galaxy S7 or LG G5 good, but it's definitely close. It's, maybe a little less than the HTC 10, which itself is, I think, a little less, mostly due to software than the GS7 and G5. But it's a great camera. It's fast, it's solid, it falls a little bit apart in low light if you push it hard. And manual mode is not really the most compelling, but it does exist and it's there. And I find this camera perfectly serviceable. And the OIS is wonderful, generally fast, generally well done. There's really nothing here on the top which is interesting. As you go to the right hand side here, you have the SIM tray. This is a dual SIM phone. No micro SD expansion, so keep that in mind. Power lock key here. And then nothing else, nothing else, nothing else. So we get to the bottom where we have some screws and headphone jack and USB Type-C, which was already on the OnePlus 2 last year. And this side-firing speaker, which is another area that with the display potentially that OnePlus had to cut corners because it's not great, but it's manageable. And so here on the left-hand side, you have this really awesome slider, which let me just go back here. Switches between silent, priority only, and all notifications. Very useful. They started this on the OnePlus 2 last year. It's also on the OnePlus X. Great stuff. You've got a volume rocker here, of course. And so that's the tour of the phone. Now, the innards. You obviously are all wondering, what's inside? Well, you probably know this. This is a flagship, and this is where OnePlus does not cut corners. This has a Snapdragon 820, and it has are you ready? 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of built-in storage, which is a good thing because, you know, no micro SD, remember? So that's one of the negatives, no micro SD, but 64 gig is gonna be working for most of you most of the time. So, great specs inside, and it flies. This thing is a champ. I mean, it's just smooth as silk. You know, you can fire off some apps here, like here I have Engadget. So, you know, everything just goes super fast. Let me start a few other things, like my Photos app, and like you can see that's Facebook, and then Google Plus, and then Twitter, and you can see, look at this. It's just not skipping a beat. I just boom, 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 just goes. And then look at all these apps. Everything's running. Everything is happy as pie. This thing just screams. I mean, you know, all the Snapdragon 820 phones are just delightful in terms of performance, and battery life is pretty good. Speaking of battery life, there is a 3000 milliamp hour battery in here, which is good. It lasts me a day, no problem, especially on heavy days. It might need some charging, but, you know, it's generally okay. It's not a Mate 8, and Huawei really kind of did a wonderful thing with that massive battery on the Mate 8, but it's really solid battery life. And here's the kicker. This comes with dash charging. So dash charging is this interesting little thing where it's based on Oppo's technology that they call something else, but it is super fast. You can charge pretty much a day's worth of use in half an hour through the USB Type-C port. And it requires not just a custom charger, but it requires a custom cable too. So they gave me the custom charger with a custom cable, and then a car charger with a custom cable. Now, of course, the custom cable works to charge any other phone over USB-C, so do the chargers, but you won't get the super fast charging out of them. You will, however, be able to use them for other things. So it's not like that it's a proprietary charger. It's proprietary only for the super fast, quick, fast charge thing that's called Dash. And it's amazing. You know, if you are out of battery, just plug that in for a bit, even while you're driving to your next errand in the car, and you're good for a little while, no problem at all. So good stuff there. Not so good stuff. Well, you know, there's very little thing. I said the display could be a little better, but then again, you know, at this price, you can't complain. And I'm talking about the resolution more than anything else, maybe the brightness. The camera could, of course, still be better in low light, but we're splitting hairs here. This is really pushing the envelope in terms of like everything else. It's so thin. Look at how thin this is. This is a gorgeous phone. Beautifully made. It's the level of quality build of an HTC, which, as you know, makes some of the nicest phones in terms of build quality and materials, for $400-something. I mean, it's unreal. And so I just can't find too much at fault with this phone. USB 2.0 only over the USB Type-C connector, so that's a little slower than USB Type 3. If you want to transfer a lot of files, keep that in mind. You do have to go in the settings and enable the USB on the go to be able to connect peripherals like headphones or others, and it's actually in storage in USB here. Up here in the setting, you have to enable it by default, otherwise you don't get anything out, which is really interesting. See, look, I've got nothing in here. 12 gigs used up, or 52 gigs. Amazing. So as long as you can see, so here you can see the auto brightness is doing some weird things, and the screen is a little dimmer than it should be. And, you know, I can fix that by cranking it up. But yeah, the auto brightness is a little weird at times. I mean, this is stuff that can be fixed in software. So speaking of software, I've got running the Google Now Launcher here and the Google Keyboard because I like to Nexusize, turn my phones into Nexuses, right? All my phones are running the same launcher. I like to be pure, and it comes by default with Oxygen OS, which is a very, very pure version of Android with some really cool customizations. Like, for example, there is this invert colors mode, which might save you some battery on, since it's an OLED display. I'm going to dismiss these notifications here. Yeah, it's a bit weird, but it might be helpful. It comes with a bunch of stuff, like you can customize this here by like adding and removing or rearranging things, which is kind of cool. Again, this is being the case on all OnePluses, nothing new. So you basically get a very stock Android experience, and if you really wanted super stock, you add the Google Now Launcher and the Android keyboard like I did. So software is great. It's running, let's see, what version of the OS is this? It's 6 point something for sure, but where is it? About phone 6.0.1, so pretty up to date. The big question is, will they keep the phone up to date? I think they will. I have a good feeling about it. I really think this is one of the best phones you can buy today. And if you want to save money, this is the phone to buy. I think the Nexus 6 is a really good choice still too. But for me, I like to do long exposures. OIS is really great. This feels much nicer in hand than the Nexus 6P in my opinion. So you know, prices are similar. You get a better display, and in low light, slightly better camera on the Nexus 6P. But I think this is the sexy phone. If you show up with this phone, people are going to pay attention. Plus, you know, it's not that common, so it's got a bit more exclusive. So anyway, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. The OnePlus 3, it really has me excited again about phones. You know, last year they missed the mark with the OnePlus 2. I was very disappointed. And speaking of which, one of the reasons for me was the lack of NFC, which existed on the OnePlus 1 and is back on the OnePlus 3. Yes, you can use Android Pay with this phone. What a blunder last year to not include NFC and add a fingerprint reader to the phone when Android Pay was becoming a thing. This is now a real flagship, and it's not a flagship killer. You know, never settle. Well, there is some things they settled on, but you know what? The marketing wasn't over the top this year, and they delivered. They delivered this phenomenally beautiful, great phone that I just cannot put down and just want to keep on using. And I've dropped my Galaxy S7 and G5 from the circuit. They're no longer being used by me, despite being the best really right now in terms of, you know, overall everything. Arguably, I think the GS7 is far better than the G5. The HTC 10 holds its own up there, but it just feels a little chunky and clunky to me. This feels so svelte and modern and high-end. And, you know, and of course, I shouldn't dismiss the fact that Moto just launched the Moto Z, which I have and I absolutely love. Really great phone too, but it's not quite as good as this, in my opinion, especially when it comes to the camera. The Z has the Moto mods, which are really amazing and really great concept of modularity. But, you know, this is it. This is where it's at. Right now, if you're buying a phone and you're on a budget and you want the best of the best, just don't even hesitate. Just get this phone and call it a day. You'll be fine until, well, at least until the Nexus comes out. And otherwise, if you have the money and you can deal with TouchWiz, the GS7 would be my pick. Probably the Edge if you want a bigger screen, and the regular GS7 if you want something a little more compact. That's really in a nutshell. And stay tuned. I just got the Moto Z like a day before the embargo. I posted an unboxing video. Go check it out. It's somewhere down here in my channel. And look at the unboxing. It was done on Periscope, but I was only able to get a 480p recording, so that's why the quality is so low. And that's why I've decided to try this YouTube live at 1080p. You know, check out my live show, the Tank Girl Mobile Live 102 show that I just did a few days ago, where I talked about the OnePlus 3 and the Moto Z as well, so that you have a bit of a more complete picture of what I'm thinking. Moto Z full review will be as soon as I get a chance, probably in a couple of weeks, because I have the G4, the G4 Plus, the Z, and the Z Force, and right now I'm only using the Z and the G4 Plus because they're my favorites. So I'll have these other ones for you guys at some point. Subscribe, I don't know where that is, down here. you know, like this video, comment, participate, be my friends, etc., etc. I'm going to be doing more of these live videos from now on, and they will not be edited because I just don't like editing. And so I hope you enjoyed. And again, OnePlus 3 is where it's at. Rock star. And here we got Google now voice search here. Anyway, cheers. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Like. I'm out. Laters, guy. Bye.